What's going on, YouTube? Let's move the chains. Let me know if y'all can hear me down below in the comments section. It is 6 o'clock. We'll be going from 6 to 6:30. We have a lot to talk about today. Y'all go ahead and also post your questions down below. But y'all let me know if y'all can hear me real quick. And I'll start going through some of the questions to start us off today. All right. First, I do want to hear, how is everybody doing? Y'all doing fine out there? I can say I've been doing all right. I did recently get rejected, so happens to all of us, but we're going to get through. All right, let's start with the real stuff. Top 3 picks for MVP of the USFL championship game. So I'll do you better, and I'm going to do 4 because I feel like you'd have to pick 2 from each team, and I'll pick 1 offensive player from each team and then 1 defensive player from each team, if that makes sense. So we'll start. If the Stars win the football game, I think that Case Cookus would be the offensive MVP, the best option for there. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Channing Stribling because of how awesome he has been all year long on the defense and how he pretty much takes away a whole side of the field with his ability and his ability to force turnovers. So, he may have a game where he forces a huge turnover, brings it back for 6, and, that could win MVP. On the Stallions side, I'm going to go Victor Bolden on offense/special teams. He's a little bit of a cheat because he can really do it all, and he still gets a mass amount of the targets with his offense, and then he's super explosive on special teams. So I would like Victor Bolden, offense/special teams for the Stallions. And then defensively, I'm going to go with DeMarcus Gates. He's been lights out all year long, and he really showed his true colors and played incredible against New Orleans, just making things really difficult for the New Orleans offense. He was really just a pain. Feels great to be a USFL fan. Yeah, we are. There's a lot of USFL news, just right now with the championship coming off the playoffs, which, by the way, I'd love to know, did y'all enjoy the playoffs? I, for one, thought the games were incredibly entertaining. I watched with friends, and they said that they were by far the most entertaining games of the season that they watched. So I think that's good because we got a lot of offense, but we also got great defense and special teams. It was a nice mixture from the USFL. We saw so much from both games. All right, so our first real question coming up here is, when will we see the team's uniforms, and why haven't local TV news station reported the news about the league? I'm in Arkansas and haven't heard anything about the Arkansas attack. So, guys, if you are wondering, this is regarding Major League Football. So this is not a USFL question. This is MLFB, and the Arkansas attack, they are one of the new franchises in the MLFB. I think it's because this is really kind of a test season, and it's not really going to be publicized a lot. It's also coming together really at the last minute, and part of that's really exciting. They're trying to get investors, but I think that once the league kind of rolls around, you'll be hearing more locally. They're definitely, Major League Football is going to feel more small scale when compared to the USFL, to fan controlled football, to the CFL, to the XFL, to a lot of other sports league. I think it's going to be more kind of like if you have a minor league in your hometown for baseball. I think it could end up being like that type of feel to it, which isn't bad. I go to minor league baseball games all the time. I really enjoy them. They make great community events. So, they're just doing it a little bit differently. Which city stadiums do you think the USFL should aim to add next season? So, for those of you who haven't watched the video earlier today that I had posted, the USFL announced that they are expanding cities. Now, they're not expanding teams. They're just going to have Birmingham and at least one other city, so kind of like a bubble city, but they're going to have up to 4. So it's between 2 and 4. They could have 3, they could have 4, they could have 2, but it'll be more than just Birmingham. I think that if you just have 2, and I'm going to do a more in-depth video, which I think 2 is the most likely reality. I think that it's got to be a team in the Northern Division where you divide the teams up north and south. And I'd give it to the Stars. You know, they had an incredible season this year, or maybe the Generals. Give it to a team that's succeeding on the field with good coaching and good staff. I understand that there are more fans for some other teams on social media, but I would like to see the best team. You know, they kind of earn that. They earn the right to have their own city and be in their own hub city. So I would prefer that way. I think likely it could be Michigan. A lot of people think it could be Michigan, which you know it maybe they'll turn things around and hopefully the fans will go out and support. So for the question to start off with is EndZone, are you feeling more optimistic about alt leagues since the USFL is profitable? 100%. That statement, the news that came out today, and the league finishing is absolutely an incredible feat. And it's something that proves the product. And really, I felt comfortable because the XFL was very successful, but then something happened that was out of their hands that caused it to not succeed, which is quite unfortunate. But the USFL is doing just what they need to do, and they're doing it the right way. And we might have both leagues simultaneously, which sounds crazy, but you know, it's certainly possible. And fan controlled football also proved that you could have a brand new kind of wacky, crazy sports league of an idea really work. And I love fan controlled football and what they've been able to do. I'm working on a video right now, kind of drafting it out about fan controlled football and how they've really defied the odds and how they have rose to fame with their league. The MLFB did not fold, and it is coming this summer. So you're going to see it. It will be here. And we're supposed to get broadcasting news pretty soon. If Hawaii had an XFL team, would the league fold because expensive, traveling cost? Right. I don't know that would be the sole reason why the league would necessarily fold, but I doubt they would have a Hawaii team, if that makes sense. Hawaii is tough because of traveling. I know in college football, Hawaii, the university, the Warriors, they pay by far the most for traveling, and it's really a pain for them. And it's definitely hard to get people out to games as well. And it's hard to recruit players. That's a whole college football thing. But no, I don't think that the XFL will have a Hawaii team. Maybe in the long, distant future, possibly, but I don't think anytime soon. Yeah, but the travel expenses are incredibly high. So let's get through some of these. Okay, who will win the USFL championship? Honestly, uh I need to dive more into and rewatch the playoff games and a couple more games from when they played last. So the Stars and the Stallions playing in the USFL Championship. I like the Stallions. I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to, give spoilers for the preview video. I'm also think I'm going to go live about 30 minutes, do kind of like a pregame show before the championship game. If y'all would be interested in joining in for that. But I think Stallions, I'm going with them because I like how they handled the Breakers game. I thought they played really well and they cleaned up some stuff that I wanted them to clean up. But then again, the Stars impressed me so much, especially with their defensive line. Hey, will you keep us up to date on the lawsuit between Fox USFL versus the old people that don't know what a football league is, USFL? Yeah, I'll keep you up to date on that. I'd be glad to. I haven't honestly been paying attention to it as much because the league's just been action packed and there's been so much content to cover. but I'm sure we'll get more after uh, after the fact, after the league is done playing for the season. Yeah, well, injuries are just part of football, and I think that the Generals really um, suffered a lot. It felt like Perez was playing through something, and he was getting hit hard because even though he was sacked, I think twice, he was getting hit in the backfield and rushed. And it was just a rough game for New Jersey. It felt like it could have been their game to win, but they just didn't end up coming up with it. And that was such a hard fought game by both teams. It's almost like being a fan of Birmingham. I was rooting for both teams because they're playing their hearts out. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but we'll see how they respond as part of football. Do you wish they had mascots at the playoffs game? I wanted to see Blob. Blob is the Stars mascot. I don't know if I want to see Blob. He kind of scares me. But yeah, I don't know why they didn't have the mascots there. I was just halfway through the CFL video, then saw this. Well, the CFL video is fun. I'm going to be covering more CFL. Hopefully, we'll get more Canadians moving the chains. And I love the CFL. It's very fun. I actually have a really cool video about. I don't want to spoil it. It's about the CFL and American football's relationship. That's all I'll say. Are you going to cover NGL brand of UFL 3.0? Is that the National Gridiron League? I don't think I'm going to be covering that, to be quite honest. I've heard some rough things about the NGL. I like if I were talking to a player, if a player asked me, I don't think that I would necessarily back the league with my full confidence, if that makes sense. Trying to be as impartial as possible. Who do you want to return most in the USFL that may get an NFL opportunity? I would say Case Cookus, I think, has a great shot at going to the NFL. I'd love to see him stay because we didn't get to see him play a full season. I would also love to see Channing Stribling stay. I think he'll go. DeMarcus Gates has a really nice shot, and I know that these are just playoff teams. I feel like we'll see Davin Bellamy go, but again, I'd love to see him stay. Running backs wise, I don't know how many running backs. There's certainly some wide receivers. I'd say the wide receiver to me, just intangible wise, with the best shot. Oh, that's tough. Well, maybe I'll go with Sal Canella or Cheyenne O'Grady for the tight end in terms of pass catchers, and then Jonathan Adams because of his length, his size, and his ability to high point the football. It's just something that not everybody really has, and it's something that he really just has a gift that I would love to see him play more in the USFL in a second year with that offense so he could flourish more because I thought that there were times that I wish they included him more in that offense. I did see Steph Curry tweeting about the United States Football League when it was Jamar Smith, correct, doing the sleep thing. I thought that was very funny. Yes, awesome, awesome. That you have a guy like Steph Curry shouting out the USFL. I'm sure some of his fans were following the USFL after that. Good publicity. A couple of players you want to see drafted in the USFL next season. There is a quarterback by the name of David Pindell who played for UConn, who I really want to see play in spring football. I would love to also see Quentin Flowers, but I don't know if we will see him playing. Um, trying to think of some other guys. Do y'all have any guys that y'all would like to see play in the USFL next year? It's hard because I have some names, but they're trying out for the XFL. So we'll have to see that. Which USFL players do you think make an NFL team after this season? Honestly, there is really no way to tell. I'm sure we'll see a handful of linemen go. But with the what we saw with the XFL and the AAF, you have guys who went to the NFL who necessarily weren't the largest names in the respective league. For example, I think Taylor Heineke, he's probably the most well-known former XFL player because he had the starts. He got to the playoffs with the Washington football team. He almost beat Tom Brady, but he never even played a snap for the St. Louis Battlehawks playing behind Jordan Teyamu. So it's really hard to tell. And I think after the season, I'll do a video of guys who were impressive. I think every player who made the USFL All-Star team has a tremendous shot because their name is out there and they're going to be probably recommended to the NFL by people from the USFL when NFL scouts and coaches come calling down asking the coaches in the USFL their opinions on their players. Do you think the New Orleans Breakers should have tried other QBs with Kyle Sloter performing badly, Smith and Shea Patterson as backup? You know what? I thought that they would bench Kyle Sloter in the playoffs. I really did. And I thought they would bench him to rest more, but it didn't end up working out for them just the way clinching for the playoffs had worked. It's tough because Kyle Sloter, when healthy, is probably one of, if not the better quarterbacks in the league, but he's been playing through injuries all year. And I hate that's the reason that you have to bench him. But at the end of the day, if he's being held back by injuries, maybe Zach Smith would be the answer at quarterback. I don't love Shea Patterson's abilities. He does the famous roll out of the pocket and tries to throw on the run almost every time. Nothing against Shea Patterson. It's just the way he plays. Reminds me a lot of like Ian Book from Notre Dame. If you watch college football the past couple of years, and it's just he escapes the pocket too quickly for me, and it's not the style of quarterback that I love. And I don't think that Shea Patterson would have played better than Kyle Sloter. All right, Lemon Eagle. That's a pretty funny. Oh wait, I think I skipped some names. I I'll get back to this question. All right, Jamar Smith has shot of back up and maybe start. Sorry, miss misread that a little bit. So you're saying that Jamar Smith has the possibility to possibly back up. Jamar Smith is interesting because, well, he doesn't have all the intangibles. Like his arm isn't the most accurate at times. We saw that a lot, many overthrows. Um, he just has this weird thing where when the game is on the line, he gets on fire and he makes plays. So like he might not be the most consistent quarterback, but he's just one of those gamers. He's a playmaker. You don't know why, you don't know when, but he just is, and that's what he does. And that's why he's been so fun to watch throughout this season because the Stallions have had so many close games and he's been that X factor. So, really fun. What do you think about Akil Glass? So, I'm not sure who Glass is, but he's trying out for the HBCU tryouts for the XFL. I do know that the HBCU tryouts were invite only. So if he was invited to the HBCU XFL tryouts, then he was definitely a standout and a guy that the XFL coaching staffs preferred. I didn't know that there was a women's league. The problem is that like there's so many leagues, it's hard to cover. I might do like a one-off video or something, but I'm getting bogged down. I get questions also about European football. I get tons of FCF questions. It's just really tough, juggling everything. Will the USFL prioritize paying its players a competitive wage ahead of signing stadium leases? Just want your opinion. Well, I don't know how they're going to go about that because you also have to think on the horizon, they have the XFL coming, and the XFL is going to be paying their players more than the United States Football League. And apparently, from what I've heard, they might have better benefits, things like that. So the USFL does have to really start thinking about the wages and how there's now competition for players for spring football. What other OG USFL team do you think should come back? I think any team, maybe I'm going to say this. They should go for markets that the XFL is not in. And I feel that there's still untapped potential in the western part of the United States if done correctly. I know it's tough to get good football teams out there, but maybe they do go for the theme of going for some of the more like a lot of people I've heard wanted Chicago to have a team. Places like that could be interesting for the USFL. Did you see all the taunting from the players? Should the USFL give fines? Yeah, so I think Jonathan Adams had the throat cut taunting, which when I watched live, I saw it from his back point of view, and I didn't see him do that, and I was like really angry that they gave him the call. But I understand that taunting. As for taunting, as long as it's not like threatening or something really horrible, I think that the players should be able to celebrate things like of that nature. All right. Who do you think has the biggest comeback season in the second season of the NFL? I'm not quite sure what you mean about that. How about we keep it spring football league themed, and a spring football league player who I think could shine in the NFL, and I believe it'll be his second year. Donald Parham, the tight end from the Dallas Renegades, currently I think he's on the Chargers now. Um, he did have that head injury, a really bad injury late in the season, but he's just so big and such a great end zone threat that I think that they could utilize him in their offense, or really anyone's offense if he ends up being traded or, you know, could be cut and picked up by another team. Thoughts for potential prospects for the USFL going into season two? I think really to answer that question, we got to wait on the XFL. Watch for these camps. I think that Reese Horn is a guy that should get a shot from the XFL or the USFL. He was just signed in the European League of Football. He's been a pretty steady, solid wide receiver that I thought should have been in the USFL, but maybe he just didn't want to play. Any ratings yet for the USFL playoffs? I've not seen the ratings yet, but I'm sure they'll come out soon, or maybe I just missed them on Twitter. Paxton Lynch had his best game of his career with the final Michigan Panthers game. Will he be back in the USFL, next season? I hope and pray that he is back and he is starting because I want him to be successful, and I'm rooting for him because I love, first of all, he's fun to watch and fun to see out there, but a lot of people give him a lot of slander because, they see him as a failure because he didn't make it in the National Football League and he was drafted in the first round. And it broke my heart. I was at a game where a lot of fans were heckling him, and I really felt bad for him. And for him to have that game where he just played lights out. For me, it made me so proud, and I thought that he should have been playing more snaps. He was dealing with injuries, which is always, very unfortunate. But I 100% think that we'll be seeing him again, and that I think that he could, with an off season, with a more steady role in the offense, he could be way better. All right. All USFL players are contractually bound until the end of the 2023 season. If they get the call to the big leagues, they if they have to get cut. Okay, so I'll address this. So I think that was on the second contract. So what I've heard is people who signed the first contract with the USFL, from my understanding, have the ability to move on. But I do think that you're right on the second contract. And there's still, there's a player union. So we'll see how that all plays out. All right. Looking for a couple more questions. Got 4 more minutes. Getting through here. Kirby, I just want to highlight this because this is funny. Kirby Wilson should win Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year for getting his one win. That was a hard fought win. Can we all cross our fingers for a Case Cookus choke job on Sunday? Birmingham really needs this W. No, I want both teams playing at their highest level. Both teams playing at the highest level. Actually, KJ Costello went in, the former Stanford, Mississippi State quarterback. He didn't play too bad. He had a couple good snaps. Who do you think has the biggest second season in the USFL? Had a typo earlier. Thanks for the clarification. I think that Paxton Lynch. That's what we want. We want Paxton Lynch. That's what I want to have happen. Paxton Lynch. Maybe the biggest second season. Look out for Osiris Mitchell, the Birmingham Stallions, deep threat wide receiver. I think that he could be huge next year if he doesn't get picked up. So the USFL didn't promise. Those were leaks from, I think, I'd have to look back at that, but I think they had hinted at the idea of it. But they also earlier in the season said that they were looking at 2 hub cities for next season. I think that they had said that 2023, like after the 2023 season, would be the year that they would be in their home markets. So if that sort of makes sense. After seeing how both the AF and XFL are planning for video games after year one, do you think the USFL will try to get a video game after year one? I think it's possible, but now it's more complicated because I know that 2K is working on making a game for the NFL, and I guess you have to go to Maximum Football, but they're making heavy strides, by the way, and they were responsible for in talks for making a video game. All right, we got 1 minute. Let's try and get through all these questions. What do you think of the USFL, XFL, and MLFB competing for players? Also, what league will get the best players? The league that pays the players the most, which is the XFL, will get the best players. Unless players from the USFL who are currently contractually bound cannot move over. Who should replace Kirby Wilson in season 2 of the XFL? Sorry, USFL. Jeez, I keep doing that. I like to see a former coach from. Ooh. Okay, wait. This is tough. I'm gonna go with Rick Neuheisel, the former coach of the Alliance of American Football, Arizona Hotshots. He was fun to watch. I was not surprised at the slightest that they let go of Shea Patterson. Okay, 900,000 viewers for the USFL playoff games. That's, right around a million. That's pretty solid. Trying to get through these questions after our last minute. Is the FFL going to happen? It doesn't look like it. All right, last question. Do you think that Pittsburgh is going to love the Maulers in their home market? The Steelers love Super Bowls and not last place in the league. Any market that has bad teams, it's just going to be hard for fans to jump on. And that's the tough part with Pittsburgh is if they go into Pittsburgh and they already have a bad team, people aren't going to be very excited. Whereas if you started in Pittsburgh, at least you'd have home crowds for a couple of games. And at the very least, in the beginning of the season, you might have that hype that brings a lot of people to the first 2 or 3 home games, depending on how the season was set up. But it's tough when you're moving into cities with an already bad team. I think that they're going to have to earn fans' trust and get those wins. All right, guys, I enjoyed the live stream. We had a good one today. A lot of great questions. Thanks for watching the EndZone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we can move the chains.